He offered me free candy. I should have run. The old lady sat on a folding chair, a massive burlap sack at her feet. Halloween was still weeks away, but she was already dispensing something. Kids swarmed around her, lured by the promise of early treats. It felt wrong. Too early, too eager. But hey, free candy, right? I hung back, trying to look nonchalant, pretending I wasn't intensely interested in what she was handing out. It was the size of the sack that got me. It was bigger than any trick-or-treat bag I'd ever seen. Deeper, too. You couldn't see the bottom. Eventually, the crowd thinned. The lady smiled at me, a wide, unnervingly genuine smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Want some free candy, dearie?" I hesitated. "Sure," I mumbled, stepping closer. She gestured towards the sack. "Go on, reach in. There's plenty." I peered inside. It was dark, almost black. The air around it shimmered slightly, like heat rising off asphalt. I reached into the sack, my hand disappearing up to my wrist. The scent of sugar, intense, almost cloying, filled my nostrils. It was overwhelmingly sweet, like every candy ever made distilled into a single potent aroma. My fingers brushed against something smooth and hard. A jawbreaker, maybe, or a tightly wrapped lollipop. I tried to grab it, but it slipped away. The sack felt endless. "Wow, it's deep," I said, pulling my hand out. The lady's smile widened. "There are even better treats further in. Don't be afraid to crawl." Her voice was raspy, like dry leaves skittering across pavement. I scoffed. Crawl? That was ridiculous. But then I looked again. The opening of the sack seemed to stretch, to widen invitingly. It was like the mouth of a snake, unhinging to swallow something whole. The thick smell of sugar intensified, becoming almost intoxicating. I felt a strange compulsion, an urge to delve deeper, to explore the hidden depths of that bizarre bag. Just a peek, I told myself, rationalizing. I got down on my hands and knees. The lady's smile grew even wider, if that was possible. She was practically beaming. I started to army crawl, inching my way into the sack. The fabric was rough against my skin at first, then suddenly, slick. Like everything was coated in melted chocolate. I lost my grip and started to slide, faster and faster. The sides of the bag seemed to contract around me, squeezing me forward. Panic welled up in my chest. I tried to turn back, to scramble out, but it was no use. The bag was swallowing me whole. Then darkness, and then nothing. For a moment, I was weightless, suspended in absolute blackness. Then, with a sickening thud, I landed. I sat up, disoriented. The darkness wasn't complete anymore. A faint, sickly sweet light permeated the space around me. It smelled like soda. Like 1,000 different flavors of soda mixed together in a nauseatingly sugary slurry. And I wasn't alone. 2 other kids were huddled in the corner, their faces pale and drawn. They looked like they'd been here for a while. "What's going on? Where's the good candy at?" I asked, trying to sound braver than I felt. One of the kids, a boy with matted hair and tear-streaked cheeks, shook his head slowly. "There is no candy. There never was." His voice was flat, devoid of emotion. "What are you talking about?" I demanded. "I smell it. I taste it." The boy pointed to the ground. The floor beneath us was covered in a thick, viscous liquid. It shimmered with an unnatural iridescence. "That isn't candy. It's something else. This whole place, it's a creature. That bag, this is its belly. Eventually, it'll digest us." I didn't want to believe him. It sounded insane. But the air was heavy with a strange metallic tang that I hadn't noticed before. And the sickly sweet light, it seemed to pulse, to breathe. "But the candy," I stammered, my voice cracking. I cupped my hands and scooped up some of the liquid from the floor. It was thick and syrupy, but it smelled exactly like cherry cola. I brought it to my lips and took a tentative sip. It tasted amazing, sweet and effervescent, with a subtle, almost savory undertone. A warm, comforting feeling spread through my chest. "That's meat," the boy said, his voice barely a whisper. "It's a monster. The sweets are just an illusion, a trick to get you into its stomach. When does it wear off?" I asked, taking another, longer drink. It really did taste like candy. amazing candy. The other kid, a girl with wide, haunted eyes, spoke for the first time. "I don't think it does." I took another drink of the fluid. It was sweet and syrupy, with a lemony freshness that cut through the cloying sweetness. I made a satisfied ah sound. "It smells like candy. Tastes like candy. I don't think we're as trapped as we think we are." I felt good, strangely energized, and hungry. I walked over to the nearest wall. It was slick and glistening, coated in what looked like hardened chocolate. But as I got closer, I realized it wasn't chocolate. It was muscle. "Don't," the boy yelled, but it was too late. I bit into the wall. My teeth sank into something soft and yielding. A burst of flavor exploded in my mouth. Caramel. Rich, decadent caramel. It gushed out of the wall, coating my face and hands. I kept biting, tearing off chunks of the wall, the muscle, whatever it was. The taste changed as I bit deeper. First caramel, then peanut butter, then a tangy, almost citrusy flavor. I looked back at my fellow prisoners. They stared at me with astonishment, their faces a mixture of horror and disgust. I was covered head to toe in what looked like candy-coated gore. "It's not that bad," I said, chewing thoughtfully. "We could work as a team and be out of here before we're goners." They looked at each other, unsure. The boy still looked terrified, but the girl's eyes held a flicker of something, hope. "Come on," I urged. "What choice do we have?" Slowly, hesitantly, they joined me. We started digging, biting and tearing at the walls of meat. And it tasted delicious. We went through layers of fat that tasted like lightly toasted marshmallow, and veins that stretched and tore like red licorice. The deeper we dug, the more intense the flavors became. It was like the most incredible candy buffet imaginable. It was disgusting, horrifying, and yet we couldn't stop. The hunger was overwhelming, and the taste, it was too addictive. Hours passed, or maybe it was days. Time had no meaning in that sugary, fleshy prison. We dug and ate, driven by a primal urge to escape and a desperate need to satisfy our insatiable hunger. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, we saw daylight. A tiny sliver of light at first, then a blinding, glorious burst of sunshine. We clawed our way out of the hole, collapsing onto the grass, gasping for breath. The world seemed impossibly bright and vibrant after the dim, sickly light of the belly. We looked at each other, our faces smeared with gore and candy, our bodies aching. And then we started eating again. Why stop? We were free. We were alive. And we were all pretty hungry. We ate the whole bag. It took hours, days even. We tore it apart, piece by piece, devouring every last morsel of the strange, fleshy material. It tasted like cotton candy and bubblegum and chocolate fudge. It was the most disgusting and delicious thing we had ever eaten. And when the bag was gone, we were still hungry. Our eyes turned to the old lady, the one who had lured us in with the promise of free candy. She was still sitting in her folding chair, a vacant expression on her face. She didn't seem to notice us. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. We all knew what had to be done. We ate the woman puppet the bag was attached to. She tasted like nothing. Like bland, unflavored gelatin. It was almost disappointing. But we ate her anyway. We had to. When we were finished, we were covered head to toe in raspberry sauce, or what we assumed was raspberry sauce. It was hard to tell anymore. Our senses were completely warped. And then we laughed. We laughed so long we fell to the ground, tears streaming down our faces. We hugged our sides as the laughter felt like it was ripping us apart. It was a manic, hysterical laughter, born of trauma and relief and something else, something darker. The pain focused to one side. I looked down and saw a candy bag fused to my hip. It was small, almost unnoticeable, but it was there. A permanent reminder of what we had done, what we had become. I started for home, my legs shaky, my stomach churning. But then I saw it. A park, filled with children, laughing, playing, innocent. I didn't know why, but I felt the need to offer them candy. The urge was overwhelming, an irresistible compulsion. I reached into the small bag fused to my hip. It felt endless.